Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to the Forlight podcast, a weekly show of gaming, gaming news, and all things entertainment related. I'm your host, Ethan, alongside my co-hosts.
Hello, I'm David.
I'm Leighton.
And I'm Aiden.
So today we have a really interesting episode. We're going to be talking all things kind of the start of us talking about D&D. It's a topic we've all kind of wanted to get into as our Magic content has been kind of going up, and when we get back to school, you see more of that. We're kind of thinking like where other categories of games and just entertainment stuff will go. So D&D was kind of the first thing I think me and Aiden and others looked to. I don't know why I said others, but there's because it's whatever. We're moving past it. But so start of the year, I think. Actually, what time did we start the Alcor Uprising? Do you guys know?
I think it was
Do you
it
remember?
was around November. I think it was around November time because we had to take a break for Christmas break or winter
Did
break
we?
or
Oh,
whatever.
okay, yeah. So basically, I mean, actually, who out of here do you think actually Aiden definitely has the most like D&D experience? Oh no, maybe Leighton.
No, I've been
No,
playing
I
since sophomore year
don't
of
know.
high school every Friday and Monday until I quit.
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be.
So
Yeah,
so
never
Aiden.
mind.
Yeah.
So Aiden, but so we kind of all as a group, and we had three other players, and we just all kind of talked about D&D, the excitement of playing D&D. We were in a magic funk, so we were kind of all like ready to just try something new. And I just brought it up like, hey, like I like DMing. I honestly, and this is a fact that a lot of people are surprised by, at least my friends when they talk to me about it, is I don't play. I think I played as a player once, and that was Joey's campaign that we did at the start of the year. And other than that, I've DM'd. I've DM'd twice, and I do like side things with a couple of my other friends. But I like running it because I like being able to like curve my friends' stories and like make it so that they go towards different directions. And I also like the wildness of kind of your guys' choices.
Yeah, so guys, the reason I like being DM is I like manipulating everyone. I like being in control and
I
I
have a
like being a
severe
sociopath. So
god complex.
yeah, I have
No,
a severe
Ah,
god
my
complex
ex-DM.
and
That's like okay,
True.
but like that's an actual dig I've gotten before, is that I have a severe god complex, and it's not. Okay, it's just I like writing stories.
No,
Ethan, I absolutely love your fervor and your love of this game. I will say you have to play as a player to understand the experience of
I'll
a player
DM.
to be a better DM.
I'm actually planning
That's
on
true.
DMing a campaign once we get back, and we can all play.
Absolutely. But we have to do part
Actually,
2 of Alcor. And do you want to talk
oh
about
my god.
Alcor for a second?
Yes. Okay. All right. So basically, this all culminated. This like want to play D&D culminated into setting up a campaign. I had been thinking about an idea that I wanted to run this kind of like uprising-esque campaign in which the party or the players that they were going to be running were going to be in charge of kind of figuring out this like mystery from this like depths of this really popular city. Anyways, I basically start off this idea, start making, and one of the key things that I think was different about this campaign was just how in depth I went into everybody's stories. And this was like, I don't know what was different. I mean, David took part in my other campaign I did before, the only other homebrew campaign I had done. And it was really jank. It was the first time I'd ever DM'd. David could fucking tell it was bad.
That also wasn't fully your fault. That wasn't
True.
fully your fault either, though, because to describe the scenarios in which this was a part of, our high school that we graduated from required senior projects. And for the senior project, Ethan wanted to do a D&D club for the local K through 8 school. So he went to the library and he set up people. Some kids came and some people really loved it. However, one of these kids was the most hyperactive, couldn't stay in their seat, bouncing up and down. Like legitimately, imagine an electron as a person. Like that he had the most incredible undiagnosed ADHD I'd ever seen in a human being. Like if you think if you think any of us have like ADHD, we're all controlled. Like
it was honestly like I had a lot of fun with it, but I remember like leaving every night and we would like go get pizza every night or something to just celebrate the 3 hours of like sometimes hell that it was to be just like constantly like hey, 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 hey. It was like pulling him down and just like making sure that he was focused and stuff. And
And
Aiden also took part.
And
I
then
forgot
you
about that.
brought me in, and I became the. See, my method of keeping the bounciness down was to just spew out as much D&D information as I possibly could into his eardrums, and it's kind of worked.
You know, he would
yeah,
like
this
just ask
oh.
Aiden questions all day. And then Aiden would
And
have to just be there to be like,
it's awesome. I love seeing kids very excited about what they like. It's just sometimes we are ill-equipped as, 12th grade students to deal
yeah.
with a hyperactive child who may or may not be jumping into the ceiling if we don't entertain him well enough. So,
And and honestly though, like it was a big thing that I learned as a DM of things that I needed to change and things that I needed to hyper focus on. Because one of the biggest things that like I really, really love the story of that campaign, but the last like fucking 4 or 5 sessions were rushed to the point that I was at a point in my high school career where I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I like college now. Get me in college right now. And so like anything that had to do with getting work done was sped up consistently. And so that kind of played a role into that storytelling, and it really, I don't know if it necessarily hurt the it probably did hurt the story I was telling, but it also I knew that going into the next thing that I would do, I needed to make sure that I had a solid concrete thing that I was going off of.
and now
Um,
you definitely had that. It was an incredible improvement. But
yeah.
I want to first off say, should we like go around and like say our overall thoughts about, part one of your campaign?
Yes.
Or
I'm
or
kind
do
of
we want to
scared,
go
bro.
through or
Ethan,
do we want to
red
go through
eyes,
like
about
a
to cry.
retelling of the story?
Yeah, I mean,
Give a
I would say let's
synopsis.
start with thoughts. I mean, okay, yeah, okay, all right. Um, don't mind if I do, you know. But
Keep
so
it under
okay,
keep it under 20 minutes.
I'll keep it under like 2. I'll try my best. Um, basically the purpose or the entire story of of Alcor Uprising up to what these guys know is there was a mystery. Like all of these players came in from different areas of the land of Cupello, which is this land that I created. Um, Multiple different characters had stories that took place outside of Capello, and some had stories that took place directly inside or took place in the past and had correlations to the story. My biggest thing that I wanted to do was make heavy ties to the story and to these players, which kind of is a little bit of a negative sometimes when I thought about like, oh, what if I run this with my other friends? It's like, none of this is gonna make sense because this is all about this person and this is all about the. But anyways, um,
And
basically.
that was really awesome. I like that a lot. I think that was a really unique thing. Sorry
Thank
to
you, David.
jump in the
No,
middle of it, but
no,
like,
I really appreciate that. Hearts right here. Um, but basically, the characters come together. They receive a adventuring note from the king of Alcor saying, "Hey, I need you to go down, deal with this uprising. That this rumor has come like from the what did I call it? Shit, the depths. No, what's a city that's underneath a undercity? Oh my god. Stick with me, guys. Basically rumor came from the Undercity saying something's different about this uprising. This land has a long lineage of very powerful uprisings, like rebellions, liberations, all that. But this one is not like the last like two years of uprising. This one is different. The players come down, they deal with this uprising. Something's extremely different. The people of this uprising are using some type of magical like after death experience, and that's where the kind of story kicks off. Is them trying to figure out what this means, where the ties are coming from, and one of the big major story beats is they get to a specific location after receiving one of my favorite NPCs that I think I've ever created in my entire life, a flumph named Two.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and
Two.
that was such a
Oh
key
yeah.
moment for this campaign because it's if you guys haven't played D&D before, creating NPCs or non-playable characters is a really big thing for a DM. But one of the most important things about those NPCs is finding a connection between the players and having those players really grab onto that character, because that means that one, it's really more devastating if something happens to them, and two, it just gives so many more moments throughout the campaign, positive moments, negative moments, whatever. Um, but so I create this
Also, I
character.
want to add something really quick.
Yeah.
If you ever kill Two, I think there would be an uprising that you can't handle. So don't kill Two.
We will
That's
we
all
will
I'm saying.
collectively flip the table on top of you.
No,
Justin
it's
has
not even that.
Justin
It's
has
like everything you love would go away. Like,
It would
Justin has
suddenly be
so many
gone.
times been like, "Yo, if you kill this," because a tiny bit of background, that Two is tied closely to one of my players, Justin. His character is very heavily like emotionally related to this character because he basically asked me. This is the whole moment that they got to was, "Hey, can I put Two in my lantern?" And I looked up because I thought it was a large creature, so I was like, "No, you can't do that." And I looked it up, and he's a small apparition, so he could fit in a lantern. And so, homebrewing a little bit, they're probably a little bit bigger than a lantern, but whatever. Um, Throw him in there, and the story kind of took off later down the line with Two. But one of the key things, and I might ask you guys what you think about this moment, is we got into the first boss room, and a big thing that I learned later down the line, which I think before kind of explaining the entire story, I want to start with like bosses in general, because that was a key thing that we talked about later down the line of a boss that didn't really go so well. Um, was this boss that had a very, very interesting weapon. And at the moment at the table, basically this character comes in. They walk in this room and they see this like dilapidated robot sitting like kind of chained up against the wall. This robot was actually Aiden's character. Um, and in from kind of the columns of this back room, a portal opens and this boss comes in, and I think his name was like I called him Zelcat. Um, and he had this long, very, very heavy ornamental hammer, or was it a great axe?
Might have
I
been
don't
an
it
know.
was
axe.
It
a
was a
hammer.
weapon.
It was a hammer, I think. But
Yeah, it was, but it had very, very heavy ties to David's character, and so this was like that kind of big moment where David was texting me, and that was a really cool thing that I liked, where like you guys were texting me, being like, "Hey, what about this? What about? Holy shit, is this? Oh my god, is this?" And I had to like keep the information down a little bit. But what did
oh,
you guys
dude,
think about? Sorry, David. Would
I was just gonna say that was a destructive moment. That was something you really did really well. Is like, especially it was really neat to see right at the beginning of the campaign that, I had written this backstory that I was like, oh, this is well fleshed out. This is neat. And you said, yeah, that's really cool. That's not where it ends.
I know, and that was. I mean, maybe we start there then, because I know Leighton has different things to Aiden, has different things to David. But what did you guys think about how we handled characters this time around, from your experiences with building characters beforehand versus like maybe making characters with another person as a DM? Like, what did you guys think? I'll start with Leighton.
Well, so um As like a little background from myself, I've played quite a fair amount of D&D between like my start with D&D with my uncle and then introducing that to my like friend group and then playing that throughout high school and stuff. But I've mostly been a player. There was one time I DM'd and that was like how I introduced people, and that's a different story. But as far as my history for like building characters is, I have a hard time. I, I I I don't know. I have a hard time doing other play styles. So when I have the play style that I know that I like to do, which is I like to be in the action. I don't like to be like in the back hurling spells from afar. I like to be there attacking. And I like as a like role play aspect, but
Yeah.
I just so I have a hard time making characters that are different from that mold. And I did it one time. I made a character one time that like was the best character I ever made. It was not this character. The character I made for this campaign was kind of stereotypical, like paladin-esque, um, but like the way we went about building this character is I didn't I I didn't know how to fit into it. And with a D&D characters, generally what you want is you make a character and then the character kind of fills themselves out. Like
Yeah.
you kind of like fall into how you should play the character. It's less a okay, this is how I want it, this is how it's going to be. It's more of a kind of you flow into it and then you kind of like act it. You act it.
Yeah, it
And I
takes
think
off. You create the ground steps, and then you can
yeah,
it allows you to take off from there.
I
yeah,
also
and
I do feel that it was a little bit of my. I mean, there was multiple other correlations I think to Layton's character that I kind of screwed the pooch on, sort of, which was like there was multiple like kind of
there's a
background
couple of
settings.
things.
We started with I would go through every single character and I'd be like, "Hey, this is where this fits. What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And Leighton just was really unsure, and that's not a fault to himself. It's
No,
just
it
he
wasn't
wasn't sure
that.
where he wanted to take it.
I didn't
Um,
know where I wanted to take that character, and like I made him, and I found it really difficult to like in this case. I don't know what it was this time. I could have just been like, I could have just made the wrong style of character, and I think
I think
like for the moment,
I also did think
but
of this just a sec. Um, I had a very niche way of how I was telling people stories. Is it Leighton noticed it, and I think Justin noticed it, and maybe Joey noticed. And no, Joey definitely noticed it. I was basically going this. We're starting with this story, then we're moving into this character story, then we're moving into this
yeah,
character, and then some of them would kind of intertwine a little bit. Aiden and Leighton were the two characters that were like kind of disconnected off to the side here, just because they
it was
didn't have very heavy ties to the location that I was doing.
Yeah, it
Um,
was difficult because one, I didn't know where I wanted to take the character, and two, the character I had made was totally separate from the location. Like my character was from a different country, like a totally different land, like coming in on like a letter from an ambassador to the king, and he's like, hey, I've heard your skills are really good. We need your help," and
mhm.
it's kind of like that. And I was totally disconnected, no ties, no nothing, and I think that was like the second reason why my character kind of flopped, and the third reason would be because uh crap, I just had it in my head. Uh
The
like I
story
didn't
beat
know
that we
where
did.
yeah, no, it was because the way you went about it, while I like that way, I like the way you went about doing characters where you did like, okay, this one story, now this one story, now this one
Mhm.
story, and we're gonna like rotate out and stuff. I like that way that worked, but because I already didn't know where I was going with the character and because I had no ties, I was kind of
Yeah.
like this empty husk just with the party, and I couldn't fit into it. Like I couldn't flow into that story, and that's partially just because I didn't know where I wanted to take the character, and because of like it wasn't my turn in the story, and that's like no fault of yours, Ethan. That's just how we were running it. But
Well, I like from all that I learned, and that's a big thing that I want to kind of go through this episode is talking about just things that we learned, and I'll go through the next two. Just don't worry, I'm not like skipping a topic here. Um, is just like there are certain things that I learned off certain characters. There's certain thing I learned off certain moments, and one of the biggest things was like one, NPCs are super important, and that was like two. Like two was incredible. It fleshed out. It took Justin's character, who similar to Leighton, was pushed off to the side in the sense of location of where he came from. He was from a different land,
yeah,
and so
and
anything that was
also like
happening in what is it?
it, like order of story. Like he was
Yeah,
also like further back in like the line of like who would be going first and stuff because
right,
it was really going to be like David's character, um, Joey's character, Aiden's, then Justin's or mine, and it was kind of like blurry there. But like he was further back in that because of that.
right.
But
And
having two just is awesome.
100%. And I was that was like a boom light bulb. Okay, I'm gonna flesh this out, and I made an entirely different storyline on the side specifically for those two characters and the party and how they're gonna correlate to that story. And that was something that I was like, okay, holy shit, I can take this. And so as we introduced a newer character, James, he
Tum tum.
he had a similar thing where
James's
yeah,
character was Tum Tum just for
yeah. James's character
quick idea.
was a character named Tum Tum, a gnome, and he had the most unfleshed out story because it was literally like James came to our sessions as we started and sat down and just watched and realized, hey, I actually would really like trying D&D. Ethan, what do you like me to play? And in the week in between our sessions, I had to make a fully fleshed out story for this random gnome. This random shirtless gnome that came out of nowhere,
Tum
and
tum.
he was like
Son
this
of
drunkard,
mum.
and I was like, what do I do with this? Like the players themselves were already in this like completely separate area from the starting thing, so I couldn't use anything to tie them. But what I learned, and again the thing of NPCs, is that I mean, and also that's kind of ups of James himself as a player, but he grabbed onto things right as I threw it at him.
Yeah, he
Like
did.
I would
He did
throw a
an excellent
character at
job.
him, and yeah, and he would immediately be like, okay, I want to talk to this person. Okay, I want to talk to this person. Okay, there's this huge story thing. I'm this random dude that has no idea what's going on, but I'm gonna still start questioning this guy and like intimidating him because I think I have some interest here. And like that's a really important thing that if you're DMing, you want to look out for. You want to look out for those moments in which you can throw your character something and they can latch onto it. What do
Yeah, no,
you?
James was an
Oh yeah,
excellent D&D player. Like he came into it perfect.
Aiden, what do you think about your character? And we'll go back to Leighton afterwards and share his overall thoughts. I think we'll mix these in too.
I had a lot of the same problems as Leighton. Like, I liked my character idea and I liked how he fit in the world, but I just couldn't get into him, so to speak.
It's it is a really fucking unfortunate area that or like the people that we have on the podcast right now are two of the players that didn't have the very big character story like ties
Yeah.
just because like and that's the thing is I have everything set up for Leighton and I have everything set up for Aiden, but they are so far in like the areas that they're going to be coming down because it needs to be a certain like story through. But it's really difficult to do that. But anyways, Aiden, what were you saying?
Yeah, but like I couldn't flow into it because I had nothing to really grasp onto. Because
Yeah.
like in this is a little bit dipping into the second topic, but I can just say it now because it's not that bad. But
No,
there are
fine.
in DMing, especially with like homebrew stuff, there are three things that you want to give your players that they can latch onto. Either they need to be emotionally invested in the world around them, their own character, or each other.
Hmm.
And if they can't get at least one of those, then it's I won't say like doomed to fail or anything, but it's not going to be as enjoyable because they don't have anything to like do and get emotionally invested into.
100%.
because the more emotionally invested you get into playing your character or interacting with others or enjoying the world itself, the better role play that's going to happen, and the better encounters, and the better like speech, like I don't know, like stoic speeches and stuff, because everyone likes that. But it's like those are the things
I
that you need to do.
noticed, yeah, no, I noticed you particularly because I mean, one there was a conflict of just timing for Aiden on specific days, and so he would miss certain sessions. But one of the key things is that when he was there, because of his also your character was this like I'm a like I'm not actively trying to talk to people because of who I am, um, and what we kind of talked about we had to like I kind of sat you down was like yo like what do you think I can do to make it so that you're talking to more people or we can have more interaction with you um and that was like more interactions with like random like I'd throw like a little kid that would come up and be like holy shit oh my god you're a crazy robot oh my god and like this was this
And it
crazy moment.
was crazy. Aiden just like snapped all of a sudden and he killed him. It was weird. It was just totally out
He
of
just
character for
lit on
Aiden.
fire or like
Incinerated.
He just grabbed the kid and
Oh yeah, I
that
probably
was
should
it.
explain what my character was, so this makes a little more sense. My character was
I'm
a
joking, by the way.
warforged.
yeah.
Yes, he is joking. But my character was a warforged, so basically like a robot, but it's like more like a golem. Um, that was powered by like flames and steam, and had a lot. It was basically like almost steampunk style um like design. And so I was a domain of light cleric, so I had a lot of abilities pertaining to fire and burning things. So it was basic, and like my body, which had a flaming core to it, was constantly hot to the touch. So I was trying to roll into a character of like that was not used to any sort of attention, or
Mm-hmm.
um like especially like friendly affection. Like like that kid would like came up and like touched my side and got burned, and like that's was I was going to roll into that way more, or like lean into that way more of like not being used to friendly affection like that because of his ailment of constantly basically being hot to the touch, so he can't feel or touch things. He can't like
Yeah.
enjoy the field of flowers, because if he touches one, it's going to probably set on fire and maybe burn the rest of them. Like
I
that
That
kind
think
of
was
mentality.
you go Lynn.
okay, I was gonna say I think it was difficult, like maybe for you, Aiden, in the sense that like of trying to like build your character and build off of that, especially with the number of people we had playing in our campaign, because there were a lot of people. It was a larger group for a D&D session,
What
but
was it, like
yeah, there was
seven, six?
what there were 6 of us.
7.
That's a lot. That's a
Oh,
lot of
six, six,
six,
six.
seven. Yeah, that's a lot of people for a D&D campaign, and to try to go into every person's backstory is hard. And I think it's extra difficult for the way you were trying to go with that character. Not that it's your fault, because I do think it's an interesting concept. I think it was difficult because that kind of story, that kind of development, and that kind of character development is a slow thing. It's not a quick paced, fast thing. That's a
Mm-hmm.
slow
It
kind of
requires a
development.
lot of
Like
time and a lot of interaction, and with enough players, there's not enough interaction happening directly to me.
individually. Yeah,
So,
there's not a lot of there's not a lot of individual interaction. And I think that's something we should keep in mind for like next time we is like just number of people playing, because
Yeah.
as much as we want to have as many people as possible playing with us because it's fun, at some point it gets too much. Like there's too many.
6 is
There's
the
like a
upper
good
limit.
It
bit.
becomes the basic D&D of fight, move on, fight, move on, instead of building out certain things because you're
Yeah.
unable to do so because there's so many people.
4, 5, like 4 is the sweet spot. That's where you want to be, because you can focus on each and every person pretty easily, and still keep track of it all. 6 is like the upper limit of okay, we're pushing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Seven
And
is the absolute limit, and that is like for incredibly experienced DMs who are like on top of every little thing
Yeah.
happening.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I just think that like you're kind of the character you were playing, while interesting and could have been cool. I just think that the way, like, the story you wanted to go with there was just slow. I think
I think that's something I'll
yours
work
was,
on as
yeah,
well when we get back to.
yeah. It's not
I think
like,
something worth discussing as well is why you build your characters and how you build your characters. Because
oh yeah,
this is something that's very important for me. It's just like Aiden is known for making very good and powerful characters,
Mhm.
but he doesn't often dip into more of maybe the flavorful stuff. And but like, and then, for example, like in a campaign with, we're not necessarily newbies, but we were kind of going more for fun rather than, and then you get Joey, who is creating, a ridiculously
yeah.
powerful artifact.
Yeah,
Oh my
Joey
god.
I'm
is,
not a power
Out, it
gamer.
looks like
you are,
him
you
lagging
are,
out.
you're like,
Just a little bit.
Yeah. You
there
You're
you go,
back
you're good
now.
now.
You're back now.
all of you were lagging just a
Oh,
little
no,
bit,
he's not.
but it's okay. Um
Something about artificers is they are very difficult for the DM more than the
Context:
player.
Joey was playing an
yes.
artificer character.
I have a
A
lot
creation
of
And that
character,
things
is
to
basically.
say about that too.
Yeah.
Like
It's
okay.
it.
I will let Aiden go.
Okay.
I think things are happening at the Brown household. But like artificers are really hard for DMs, especially if you're a much looser DM, because they have the most
Which I basically
they have the
was.
most
I was
freedom.
the pushover DM basically.
Yeah, no, I am too. It's okay. Um, they have the most freedom of any D&D class. No, but artificers are the most like are the weirdest when it comes to like a loosey goosey like for fun campaign, because they are so stupidly good at making shit. Like even
Yeah.
like within raw,
And
if you followed rules as written, which I'm gonna refer to that as raw from now on because that's what I always do. Um, but if you go from raw, you can only make a specific list of magic items, yada yada yada. You can only have like certain spells and make certain things to buff your team. It's a good class. It's a good support like hybrid class where it can do DPS and it can do support at the same time, and it's okay and pretty good at both of those. But if you throw that into a flavor text heavy campaign, you can do some stupid shit with it.
a pushover DM.
Yeah, like myself and Ethan.
Yeah, just a little bit of context for where we're going.
I'm gonna actually
I
text
did.
Trith right now and tell him to join the stream because he needs to hear me recount this story and
Also,
Yeah.
give me
I'm gonna keep
pointers.
it so real. The amount of conversations I had with Trith about the bullshit that was going on with artificers, I was I
Oh,
was
it is
fuming. It was because
ridiculous.
I am a big proponent of everything in the world should be earned, magic wise. So like if he has like a bag of holding or whatever, how did he get the money to buy that? How did he get the materials? Where did he get the materials? What did he do with that? Like, I'm
Yeah.
a very big proponent of all of that stuff. And then stuff like he made like a flamethrower. I'm like, how did he have access to a forge hot enough to heat materials that won't burn up as a flamethrower? I'm like,
Yeah, no, and just a little bit of like full on context of where like I loved Joey's character and I love his story, but where we went is that he went from a regular nobleman to the mix of Aaron Yeager and Boba Fett all in one. Um
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
and
yep.
Jo-
he
Joey's
basically
character
was
was
this
No, go ahead.
What does it say?
Finish. Well, I was gonna say, his character was an amazing, like the story was very rich, but at the same time he was way overpowered, way too like
Yeah.
holy. Man was
And
literally
that-
he grappled on for like example, one of our things was we were fighting a boss in an underground arena, where there were two like big stone pillars in the middle of it, so you could kind of like get out of the way in case the boss was like hurling like I think that was the Zelkat fight.
It was the
But-
Zelkat fight.
yeah, it was
he-
a Zoka fight.
Joey literally, okay, so I grapple up into one of the stone pillars, swing myself around, and as I'm swinging, spear him through the heart because I had just shocked him, and as like one of my things was chromatic orb, and I was using
Leighton
lightning.
had just shocked him.
Yeah, I had just shocked him as my character because I was using chromatic orb and it's a lightning thing because that's how I chose it to be, and he was wearing metal armor, so he was like frozen. And Joey's like, okay, I grapple onto the pillar, I swing around Aaron
Didn't he
Yeager
shoot, like, a
style.
bolt?
I don't.
I swear to God, he shot a crossbow.
Yeah,
bolt from up
he
there.
shot guiding bolts, or no, he did guiding bolt, which did like a little bit of damage, and then he told me in the exact same location I would like to spear him in the stomach, and I was like, and this is a funny thing as well because he made his character almost fucking invincible to acrobatics checks, very similar to how Justin's character was quote unquote invincible to stealth checks. He was getting at minimum a 12 every single time,
Well,
or
that's just rogues. That's
right, but in what's it called? Joey's case, he was getting plus like 8 or 9, I think, or maybe 7, but I can't remember. But it was a point where I was like, okay, can you make an acrobatics check to do the first thing, and then make an acrobatics check to do the second thing, and then and then at a certain point, I just stopped asking him because he literally would go, so that's a 30. Oh, so that's a 29. Oh, yep, no, that's a 20. I was just okay.
It was
Okay,
just-
you know what? You can
was
do
just
it.
too much
You can
power.
rely
It was-
on him.
It was too much power. It was a little unbalanced. While cool to like hear the story play out, it was like, huh, okay.
Well, actually,
I
if we wanna
fired
talk
guiding
about-
bolt.
yeah,
Chromatic orb.
I have another story about an artificer in a pushover DM campaign, aka myself. Hello Trith, you're in the chat right now because I texted you. This is about you, you bitch. I basically dropped Trith, who has the mind of a crackpot engineer, into a world filled to the brim with nothing but metal scrap
For the
and
record,
old machine parts.
for a little context about the kind of person Trith is, I talked to him at length about what a D&D soul is and how to use it and become
my boy has the biggest fucking brain I think I've ever seen my entire. Like, I will ask him something, and it's like he just like opened up 14 different encyclopedias and was like, there. Grabs
Knows the
it and then just
exact page.
Yeah, it's like it is fucking and also it's funny to like watch that as well, where you're sitting down and I'm watching Leighton and him talk, and Leighton would be like, "Well, so then what about this question?" I'd be like, "No way, he has an answer," and he, boom, right there,
No, you have
answer,
no
and he's got
idea.
the extensive thing.
Him and Leighton, we're all like, dude, we gotta go get food. I'm like, we're starving. Like, Ethan's playing Xbox, and they're just talking about souls. It's like 8 o'clock at night. Dining hall closes at 9. It's like, all right, dudes, can we go get some food? It's like, okay, one sec, just one last thing. Like 45 minutes later, dudes, we gotta go get food right now. It was
Those are
it
fun
was
conversations, though.
it was ridiculous. They talked for like 3 hours straight and did not stop. And it's incredible to listen to it because it all makes sense.
Well, D&D sense.
True.
D&D sense because it's not like actual real life stuff. But it like I basically dropped his crackpot brain into a fucking world filled with nothing but materials for him to cause mischief. I like
Bad move.
You don't even understand the amount of metal. It was like a post-apocalyptic sort of world, that was basically at the point where they'd use like metal sheeting to build shelters, and a lot of those shelters were abandoned or decrepit or broken, and all of the machines used for like in factories out on where they were was like discontinued, so that you could basically just go in and take like gears and different machine parts. And he
Bro, that's
if I
fucking
hadn't
crazy.
if I hadn't been like, please stop, like I'm begging you as your friend, please stop. Like in a
Yeah,
nice way. Like I
but
still loved the character, but goddamn, I literally had to say, bro, please just give me one break, because if I had let him go, he could have made just about anything. He could have built himself a full Neon Genesis Evangelion mech, and like it would have been completely justified. I'm sure.
Yeah, no,
but
it's
but
in.
anyway, so the artificer is kind of a broken class for pushover DMs, but so that was Joey's character. David, I know you. What did you think about your character and stuff?
Oh
And
yeah,
overall
definitely.
thoughts.
Because we kind of got off a little. We got a little sidetracked there.
Mm.
It's okay. And also for viewers, my energy dropped 100% because my medicine is wearing off and I can feel it. Um,
He's sick, for the record.
um, so my character absolutely loves him. His name was Ko Eladar, and this is one of the things. I love making characters in D&D, and I love playing as these characters. Um, the two characters that these guys know of is Teagly Fiddlefin
Legally
and
Fiddlefin.
I don't know.
Teagly Fiddlefin
I
and
don't.
you weren't around for Teagley, but that was such
Legally
a
was
memorable
fantastic.
character. Teagley is a
Yeah.
very memorable character. And then I would like to think Coat is as well, but just in the
Yeah.
very opposite type of things. Um he is a why am I forgetting? Path Storm Herald barbarian. And yeah, pretty typical barbarian. I have I go in there, I'm gonna deal a lot of damage, and then I'm gonna die. That's what happens. Um, that's how it
You're
goes.
also.
But I
Yeah,
liked
keep going.
I liked how I like his character, his personality and things like that, because he was a very like, I'm set in my ways, I'm gonna try to do the best I can, and I'm gonna do a lot of flirting while I'm at it. So
He was also, you should probably mention, he was a minotaur.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean he was a 6 foot minotaur. So pretty large for a minotaur. Um, and he had about 2 foot horns. So this guy was big. Like he made an impression when he
Mhm.
walked in the room. And one thing that I really liked is that he'd do intricate carvings about all of the things he cared about in the stories on his horns. So not only did he look awesome, but he acted like a Riz god in a lot of things, and which was really funny because he had an extremely low charisma stat. So
I
whenever
like.
stuff would
I
happen, it was really good.
I enjoyed Coates so much because that was kind of where I took the story first. Is that very first boss, David in his story had said, um, "I have a loving mom and dad, and they
And
are very
Ethan was
much
like, and
they're
Ethan,
very much alive."
Ethan was like, okay, no, they're not.
And that was
He
the
he
thing.
thought
Is
it
like
was
I was like,
so funny. He thought it was so funny. I finished writing my story like literally the session before, and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what would be funny? They're dead." And then
You know what would be funny?
because because
Grr.
that was the key thing for me. As I was like, holy shit, I can do something with this. And this character Zelkat walks into this boss room with this massive hammer and completely disproportionate to his size as a person, but something's different about it. He's like almost spinning it in front of his hand, like he's not actually holding it. He's using a spell to hold the hammer. And then David looks at me, and I looked at him and I go, it looks very familiar. And you go, and David basically was just like, are you fucking shitting me? Are you fucking shitting me? Are you like, it was a back and forth thing, and I immediately took that from that character and pushed it into the rest of the campaign. Like how the portal opened is like David felt very familiar chills of home, and he hasn't been home for 3 years. And so why is he feeling like the briskness of cold winter air from this portal opening? And why does this hammer look so similar to one that his father wielded? And then this kind of just story went boom, 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 and we
Yeah,
kept going. And I really
that-
love it.
That's one thing I had to compliment you for, it, Ethan, was that you took that and you ran with it, and you did it in such a way that David was not expecting. It was so like, it was so just well thought out. It was
Oh,
very
that was
like
that
perfect.
was really good. It was
very perfect.
It was one of those events that I was talking a little bit about it with Asteroid City at the beginning of the podcast, but it was one of those events that I'm not going to forget because it's like when a character they break the fourth wall. It was that impactful. I was just like,
Mhm.
uh, I'm sorry, what?
Ethan,
he texted me and was like, that better not be my dad's or something, or like, I swear to
Mhm.
God if that's my dad's. And I just responded with like a hee hee, and he was like, holy shit.
He's just
Um,
like, fuck.
and I really like, I'm very proud of what I did with Coat, and I'm proud of where we took that character. And also another thing about a little bit of about that boss fight, they kill him. They kill him in that fight,
oh, and we weren't supposed to.
and I remember all of them sitting at the table. Well, yeah, no, I had originally planned for him to at least, at minimum, get away. But as the fight was going on, I realized how much damage they were doing consistently. They were rolling really well, and they were also really happy about it. What? Him. Oh, the frog. Um, but
Sorry.
they basically were very kind of into it, and I was like, okay. And in the moment, I thought to myself, I'm like, could I realistically kill him and change the story? And because of just where you guys were going, I was like, boom, okay, I'm just gonna let it happen. And um you guys were able to kill him, and that like spiraled into a completely different story about like you guys went back to Coates' hometown. You found his dad alive, which that was a really cool thing for me, at least. I don't know what you guys thought. Um
There's a theme
but
of both.
like walking into
There's a theme with this one of dads being dead and or missing, and then finding out that we're good,
Bum, bum.
we're okay.
um Oh my god, that's another moment, dude. The moment in which, okay, I'll finish David's thing real quick before we jump to the other. And we have like a couple more things. We'll probably
Then
end the stream for today.
yeah, we're definitely going to do a part 2 because there's a lot
Yeah.
to talk about, but
But so, David, what did you like? Actually, I won't ask a question. I'm just gonna talk because I don't want to like. We're gonna keep talking, and I know us. Um, but walking them into the room, and the first thing David's character sees is his mom, and his mom then has a conversation with him, motions to the side, and his dad is sat in this huge chair, looking out on the kind of the mountains and stuff. And then another thing, like they give him the hammer, and he's able to wield it perfectly without like sight, and like
yeah, he's fucking blind now. He
yeah,
happens to throw in that fact.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. Like I made it very obvious he had been in a fight. I kind of forgot that. Like his horn is ripped off. There's a slash through kind of bolt like his entire face, and he's blind. But there was like more story to that, more depth, and like let's figure this out. And yeah, no, in general, it was like I was happy with that, and then we move into the big bad. We move into the kind of conquest to get to the big bad, and yeah,
This was around the time Ethan and I were kind of getting antsy about like my story and going into it, because that was and like just other stories in general, because we had been talking about David's story and Joey's story for a bit then. Like it had been a couple, like 3 or 4 sessions or whatnot, like 3 sessions I think.
I think it was 3.
And then so we were antsy to kind of like move things along. The issue is that I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my character, and it was so there was some development within Joey's story when we went and fought the big bad in that section, and it was a very fun fight. Like we went through the entire like trap area. Why are you guys waving?
David Brown is going to leave real quick, and then you keep talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, I'm just gonna say for the viewers, my fever has hit a point where I am no longer here. I am present in this conversation, and I am sweating so much that I am like swimming through the air. Like it is.
Dude, get
Holy
a
shit,
fan
dog,
on
bro,
you and
go.
get in bed
Yeah,
now.
what are
Yeah.
you?
Get some
What
water
are
in
you
you
doing?
too.
Right.
Bro,
We love you, David Brown.
We love you.
on the
Please,
stream, I drank 2 of these. So
all right,
Oh
you
my
should go.
God.
You should go.
Okay, bye.
bye, everyone.
We'll finish
Bye,
this
Bye,
up.
David.
Too Long says enter hibernation.
Yeah, yeah. I'll see you guys in a better state next week. So bye.
All right, bye, David.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, what you were saying.
Then there were 3. So anyway, as I was saying, there was good development with like Joey's story and his artificer character there, because again, that story was very rich and very like well thought out. And like we ended up, when we went to go fight, we finished off one session of going through the entire trap area before the big bad and like the big fight. And we went through the entire trap area and absolutely cleared all of it with no issues. And Ethan was like, "What the fuck? All of this work
Oh yeah,
on
that was so. That was a positive. Actually the session before they fought the big bad was one of the highlights.
Oh yeah, no, that was an awesome session.
And they basically like I mean, as Leighton said, the story that I wrote with Joey was like some key moments where, like, I mean, they're going through and they get to a trap where basically the room is on a like a seesaw.
I think
And
that
these
like an Indiana
motherfuckers.
Jones trap.
Yeah, I'm thinking these guys are gonna get split up, and I'll be able to split them up and take them out one by one. Not really like take them out, but like have them fight little and kind of drain their health a little bit.
Ugh.
These motherfuckers got to a point where they're like, you know what? Screw the DM, and they made it so that there was weight on one side. So what happened? They walk into this room, they get kind of confuffled, and a couple of them fall down. They then, as I'm thinking, they're gonna explore around this area where I had a neat little monster waiting for them. No, they didn't do that. They stayed exactly where they were and decided we're gonna go on the one end of the seesaw, make it rise. We're gonna throw a rope over so it goes down into the hole, and then have us climb back up and then get through the door. And the amount of like the entire time I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make these rolls really, really, really difficult. So that way they can't do it. And that way it's my thing. And then they roll nat 20s on multiple different things. And I was like, are you actually kidding me right now?
It was awesome. Oh, and the
a nat
fact
20
that
is a straight 20. It's the highest roll you can get on
it's
the
a crit
biggest roll.
success for those who don't know. Literally, it was that whole trap area. Then moving on to the next area was this like door where it's all a bunch of different handles and they all have different monsters engraved on them. So we picked the one that's
idea.
We picked the one that's a flump, and we open it and there's a giant flump that we have to fight. We close the door and we're like, okay, do we have to do anything? Can we change it? No, that's the one we have to fight. So all the other door handles disappeared. So we went in and literally 5-second fight, like 2-turn fight. This was a highlight for my character and like the way I had built him, not story wise, but like just because I know how to build a good like powerful character, and it worked out well. And I teleported to the other side, blinked to the other side, Eldritch Blast up on the backside of the flump, because the flump is like unaware and he just noticed us. Totally caught him unaware, flipped him over, and what Ethan had forgotten was that flumps, when they turn over, they kind of enter a dormant state when they flip on their other side. So I flipped him,
Mhm.
and that was it. There was nothing else.
And it was such a fucking funny, like, I was like, because it's a key thing in the flumps like directory is if you flip them on their underside, they kind of go into this like grayish, like, what is happening, like they freak out.
It was
And I was,
totally unplanned that was how we were going to clear that too, because the
yeah,
whole thing
I
was
didn't
that,
think they were going to be able to do it.
the whole thing was that like that was like a randomized monster thing, and we just happened to pick the one that had this key like weakness that we immediately used.
Mhm.
It was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect.
And going from that room into the final room, which was, or not the final room, this, like, it basically, they walk in, and a thing that I had been using to kind of tell of this under death thing, or like this escape death thing, is that these tethers would come out of a person who had used this inscription thing, which is something they were seeing throughout the entire campaign. They're exploring why this is happening. They're exploring what it has to do. But this like ethereal tether would come out of it. It was like this black, like nasty thing. And sometimes they could cut it and sever it, and then that whatever it was connected to, that person would just basically be a dead body at that point. Or the tether would literally just take that person off into oblivion. Like they didn't know where it would go, but it would just go off somewhere.
Yeah, it was a neat idea for a like a big bad kind of situation.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they got into this room, and there's tethers going like following into the next room. Like it's coming from, so like if you're walking forward, there's two ways to go on both left and right, and then a door in front. And those tethers are going through the door from the left and right. They walk in, and there's just thousands of people, all strung up on this wall, like hundreds of feet high, wrapped around by these nasty like tether things. And I thought that was a really good moment. That was another, like how David said it was, Joey walked in and Joey sees his father, which is another, like, that was a key thing from his story, is Joey identified that his dad was dead, or so he thought in his campaign, or he like died in prison. That was, oh my god, that was such a funny moment because
Cool.
outside of D&D, I had been walking through the halls of our dorm, and I'm walking away from Joey. I'm passing his room, and I go, "Hey, oh, Joey, by the way, did you ever mention if your dad, like, if you saw your dad die in prison?" And he goes, "No." And then I was like, "Okay," and then walked away. And he was like, "What do you mean?"
That's evil.
It's
That's
just like,
evil.
thanks. And I like walk away, and then the next session that happened was he sees his dad up on this wall. You guys get him off, whatever.
But
And
yeah, we
so
managed to like save him, and it was good.
yeah,
Following the line of dads being okay.
and so it came the final, like the big bad fight. They walk into this room, and it is, it's a lich. Oh my god. And this lich has basically been controlling this whole thing from the entire time. He's been controlling this death thing. He's been gaining followers that are interested in this like after death thing. And he's looking for a way, for some mysterious thing, which they later find out, to get back to Alcor. And I was really excited for this fight, and I think that's something that a DM, and Aiden can probably talk on it as well, is if you get overexcited, you can end up fucking up the encounter because you're so excited to do something cool that you miss something, or you like immediately hype to like not explaining something in depth because you're like, oh look, big bad. And then like, and that's exactly what I did with Lane. There was a moment that I think if you want to talk about, you can.
Well, so again, I had not known where I wanted to go with my character, and Ethan and I were trying to figure that out. And for a little context, I was a celestial or an Aesmere paladin, which is like a celestial descendant paladin who was like part of this order of knights. Who I was found as an orphan child by this like one of the leaders of this order of knights, and trained and raised up and whatnot. And I mean, while that was an interesting story, there wasn't really much to do. There was stuff to go off of that, like who are my real parents, blah blah blah. But you know, dealing with stuff that's all celestial related is kind of hard if you haven't like messed around with that kind of stuff before, especially when
Yeah.
it's like earlier in a campaign and like all that kind of stuff is really like, powerful, big stuff, like later level things. So it was kind of difficult, and the way we went about it flopped because it ended up being that one, it kind of looked like the encounter looked like it was going towards a total party wipe, which that's another thing is we need to talk about that more in the next episode. In the part 2 of this is player death and the death of like player characters, and how like dealing with that is something that you do need to do. While yes, it's a fantasy game, yes, who gives a crap in the end, but like actually dealing with that, like character death is a hard thing to manage if you've never dealt with it before. So it looked like the entire party was going to die. It was going to be a TKO, like total party wipe, and everybody was going to die because this lich was ultra powerful and there was nothing we could do. And that was kind of like a thing of us being, you know,
You
just
were level
not.
2.
Yeah, we were level 2. The lich was a lich.
Actually, I think you guys were level 3. I think you were level 3.
Well, still,
At that
it's a
point.
level 3. Like
I
what,
know.
5 level 3s.
I had wanted these guys to I wanted you guys to leave. I wanted you guys to get out. I wanted you to be like, "Oh shit, this is much more than it should be. Let's get the hell out." And all of them were like, "We're gonna kill him like we did that first one. Watch us.
Yeah,
Watch us."
That was us as players just kind of goofing out, like just not doing it correctly. I don't know why none of us got in their heads to leave rather than try to kill the guy, because we were way underpowered to do anything about that. It didn't. Note for DMs: if you give your player an enemy, they're going to want to kill it unless they're super experienced D&D players who will know to leave. That's something that was a learning experience as players for us. Was like we're knowing now like to leave in some encounters rather than just kind of go for the kill. But the way we did it, the way we did my character and the way we like got out of that situation kind of flopped. And because that flopped, there were like some things that I know that you missed, Ethan, that you could have gone with. And the party afterwards, basically, Ethan played it as I got killed. The Lich, because they have a power word kill spell, which they can only use. They only have one slot for, but they can say kill or die or something like that. And
it's a choice word. It's whatever they want.
Yeah, it's whatever they want, but they can have a creature die, and like a player die. So what he had was he had me die, and then he had me like go to the celestial plane, and then get revived as somebody like more powerful for a little bit. And it was like a Deus Ex Machina like situation, and it flopped because
I should have known what like the type of people you guys are as well, in the sense of like how we had set it up was Leighton had this ring. His character had a ring. He didn't know where he got it from, but his people had kind of talked about this ring as this artifact that they passed on in between these like beholders, and he's from a order that like just kind of protects this artifact, right? They get to this area. Yeah, and we get to this area, and I'm like, okay, if they're gonna keep fucking fighting it, I might as well just like try something, because we had already talked about this kind of thing where maybe Leighton gets a slight upper hand, and is like able to show off a little bit of his story, but it's not gonna go crazy. But it's up to the dice roll. So it's like if he gets like a 3, he gets like maybe imbued like light eyes, but nothing else. He just looks cool. Or if he rolls like a 10, he has a blade of light that comes up. But basically what is happening is this like celestial body is taking hold of him. This like either father figure, um a mentor, whatever, is in his character, being
It's
him
possessing
for a short period of time.
It's like
Right.
it's possessing.
And I, on this roll it down, and it's a nat 20. And I should have as a DM been like, oh shit, oh god, we're not doing that. Let's fudge that roll just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. That's a whole nother conversation. Is fudging
Yeah.
rolls as DMs to make the game more fun.
Right.
That's something my
And
uncle does all the time. But that's a
more fun or
topic.
more manageable.
Manageable, fun.
I think because we had been talking about this for so long, we had been hyped up. I had been hyped up about this boss for so like I literally Aiden wasn't gonna become. I found out Aiden wasn't gonna be able to come to this session, and I literally had to blurt out everything to him. I was like, okay, and then this happens, and then they get here, and then this happened. I was like so fucking like I had been holding on to it for weeks because literally all of my direct friends are part of this mysterious campaign that I cannot talk about secrets, except for like Trith. But Trith was like across campus every single fucking day, so I couldn't
Not
talk
anymore.
to him. And yeah, but so I roll a 20, and on the kind of hyped up like energy, I go, yes, Leighton is now God. And Leighton basically, he's like these light wings, light eyes, a light sword, and he just goes fucking ham.
Like an
and
angel going off, right? And
right,
it was
and
just
I honestly, at that point, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool because if he kills at least because this body of the Lich wasn't like a actual Lich. I had homebrewed it to be, this was his like decaying body that he was getting ready to swap for. So the body was actually kind of lower on hit points, but obviously none of the players know that. They know that this scary dude is about to fucking murder all of them, and they're like, "Uh-oh, no, thank you." And so I have him kill him, and then I think did I end it there, or did
it was you had you had me kill him, and then everything was on fire, so we had to get the hell out, and stuff started happening. So yeah, you ended it right after. So it was a very quick, like I became ultra powerful for a moment, which one that leaves a negative impact on all the other people who are playing, because it's like
they don't feel as powerful.
yeah,
They feel like
yeah.
it's gonna be held over. And
yeah, it's just I don't know. It that wasn't your fault entirely. Like it was just like what happened, and it was hard to manage that one. But that piece flopped, and it ran hard for a bit there. Like the next
and
we needed
the next session's absolutely fucking saved it, because I don't know if you guys remember that one, which I think this is, maybe we should stop here or we shouldn't talk about it, but this was the introduction to James genuinely playing, and this was the session where we got the tavern bar area
that was
with the
hilarious.
statues, right?
Oh my goodness,
and
that was funny as hell.
do you guys want to talk about it, or do you want to save it for next episode?
We can save it for next episode.
I
but
think we should
I
save
just
it.
wanted to talk about the one joke that made us laugh for 30 minutes straight, or was it? I can't remember if it was like 10 or 30 minutes.
Was
but
it,
it
was
a
it the
long
statues
time.
one? Was
No,
it the statues one?
it was Tum Tum, son of Mum Mum.
That was amazing.
We laughed for so long.
Well, now I
at such
want
a
to talk about it.
stupid joke.
No. We can go into that next session, our next
Next
conversation.
pod.
But I do want to finish up with like our thoughts on like how that works as like characters or DMs. Like as a character, as a DM, you're managing all of that. You're managing how the player like you're managing how the encounter is going, right? And you're trying to fix it. And we brought up points of like how we could have done it differently afterwards, obviously, because we wanted to review because it flopped. Not just me, but like everybody, because we were all in on the conversation there. And all of us agreed that it was like, that was kind of weird. It was like, it didn't feel satisfying, right?
I had like, I don't know, it really bugs me, and I think it, because That's a big thing about DMing is you are at a point where you're thinking the entire time, oh my god, do they not like it? Oh my god, do they like it? Oh my god, what do they think about this? What do they think about this? And that was something I was so fearful of, is like you guys wouldn't like this part, or you wouldn't like this part, and et cetera, et cetera. And when it came to this moment, I was really like mad at myself because I had made it so that everybody was just kind of like, oh, but my thing was like, okay, I'm gonna go to everybody and be like, okay, what do you think I can fix? What do you think next session you'd want out of this? And there was like some thoughts about like redoing it, like completely redoing the boss fight, seeing how that changed things. But the general consensus was no, we should just leave it how it is. It was a weird moment, but we can get past it. We can move past it and go into the next thing.
And we did. The next session was amazing. Now
Oh,
that
the
I'm
next session
remembering
was
it.
probably one of our like one of my favorite ones, just because of how much we laughed that day.
It was awesome.
Like
But
that
like
it was great.
that kind of thing, that kind of flop, I just want to finish up on is it's difficult. It that destroyed a lot of my hope to or not a lot of my hope, but a lot of the like idea I was trying to go with my character. That like flop really, because was already iffy about how I wanted to play my character in the first place. I was already like is this what I want to do? How do I act him? How do I play him out? And because that happened, I felt and that's not your fault. This is something like as a player, is when something
Yeah.
like that happens, you can't let it affect each. Again, you have to move past it. Like flops happen. You have to move
That's
past
what I really appreciated though, is that literally the next session we had like that. Every single session, this is something that if you guys are looking at playing D&D, if the flop happens, you need to just, as a consensus, as a group at the table, be like, okay, we're gonna try next session. We're gonna go into next session. We're gonna forget whatever, or not forget, but like we're gonna hold on to that and we're gonna keep going. And next session, you get like that first 5-10 minutes where everybody's kind of just getting back into the groove of role playing their characters and like getting back into the story. And then, boom, we have people like, I had you guys grabbing onto different things, grabbing onto different characters. The big fucking moment of that session, which we all like laughed so hard about.
the whole
And
statue
then,
stuff. Oh my god,
yeah,
that was
and
hilarious.
it was just put into such a great like vibe. And like I remember that session because I think we had like a 2 or 3 week break, didn't we, between that
We did.
session and the
It
it was
was
like a
it was
long thing.
it was really difficult because we had a flop and then we had to be like not play doing D&D for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so I
It
was
was
like,
horrible.
but it gave me time though to be like, okay, so what were the things that led up to this moment and why did they flop? And
Yeah.
right going into that next one was I worked at like fishing in every single character. I fished in Aiden, even though he wasn't even there last session. I made sure that he was a part of that situation. I wanted to make sure that Tum Tum was a part. I wanted to make sure, like, literally every single person had a role in that entire moment. And I was very, very happy with how everybody kind of walked away from that table and was just like, that was a fantastic session. I'm very like happy with that.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing as a player, as a DM, it's just life advice generally. Failing, you learn stuff. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true in all walks of life. In D&D, it's no different. You fail, you're going to learn what went wrong, how to change that, and how to move forward, how like to do it differently next time. I know I fell into my character more the session after, because previous I was like I didn't know what to do, and then I felt really distraught because of the way that flop went, and then the introduction of James, the whole statue debacle felt good, and I finally felt like how I wanted to go with stuff, and it was helpful.
And just so the viewers are antsy waiting for the statue conversation, we'll keep you guys in the dark a little bit longer.
Yeah, you have to come back. You're gonna have to come back.
You'll
for
have
that
to
one.
come back next. But so next week you guys will probably we'll just finish up this section. I'm not going to go into kind of the recent Alcor stuff. This session we talked about our characters, and kind of this episode was, the purpose of it was to show certain aspects of homebrewing, and if you guys are trying to get into homebrewing, what those things are. And I think for me, what I wanted to kind of put into this episode was that you're always going to learn as a DM, and you should never, ever, ever be afraid of just starting. Just once you start, you're going to start learning either way, whether or not you have no knowledge of something, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of
it's-
keying into, sorry, Liam, real quick, just
No,
keying
no,
into like characters.
Yeah, go ahead.
What? Oh God, we're like back in the you're like a little bit delayed, so every single time I start back up again, you say something. It's so bad. But like, and going from that, and then going into like characters and what characters mean, and making sure that your experience as talking to your friends and getting really in depth with these characters, and making sure that from what I've tried to say is just like sometimes you can not focus on certain characters, and sometimes you can heavily focus on others, and it can take away from those people who are really trying to kind of add their story. It doesn't always mean that they're not going to be there, but it just got to be something you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Leighton and then Aiden.
To end, as far as like a player is concerned, one, if you want to jump into D&D and you have somebody who's willing to DM for you and you've never done it before, one, just make a character, make something that interests you. You'll figure out quickly whether or not you like to play that way, and you'll be able to adjust it. Like you'll change. Maybe you'll like end up having to talk with your DM and say, "Hey, I want to make a different character. I want to try doing this instead." That's fine. Talking to people, talking to your DM, and talking to your friends who are playing with you. That's the key to this whole thing, is talking to people. Like for example, I hate the Ranger class. I can't play it because I don't want to be in the back. I want to be in the fight. And I learned that after making a character and trying to play the Ranger class first. And then I was like, I know now that I don't want to do that. I want to be there. So just go at it. That's all it is. It's like go for it.
Yeah.
At least as far as my player experience has been.
I know, like, yeah, and I think going from player experience to kind of a mix, Aiden, what do you think? Just finishing thoughts of
Yeah,
today's
no,
episode.
Layton did kind of hit the nail on the head. It's don't be afraid to lean into things. Like don't get shy when role playing, because that's kind of what you're there for. And if you're not happy with how your character is being played, talk to your DM, talk to your fellow players. Either switch it up with a new character, or try and like have your character change personality wise just a little bit, like flow into something new, make a new like little arc in their personality. There's a million and one ways to get to where you want to be, and it all starts with you, and you need to
Just talk.
kind of go get that.
Yeah, just go for it. Like that's literally what I did with my character and Ethan. I went to him and I said, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how I want to play this guy. I I don't know. I felt off about it, and I talked to him about it. Because I talked to him, we tried something. It flopped, and then it came back next session. The session after, I got into it, and I was like, okay, I know how I want to play this guy now, and it depends on who you are as a person, right? Like your personality is heavily going to affect how you want to play and how you want to like go at somebody. I in one of my previous campaigns, to finish up as far as like a player experience is concerned, the best character I've ever made is not a character I had ever thought I was going to do very well. I was not super heavily invested into him emotionally, but for backstory, he's a pirate fighter, and he's like a dual wielder slash duelist. So duelist being rapier, like saber fighting, and dual wielding like gun and sword, because he's a pirate. And I was not expecting to. I was not expecting for him to be my best character ever so far. And I've made like 6 or 7. I fell into him. Because I had him lawful evil because he was a pirate. He's an evil person, but he follows a set of moral codes. I ended up being like this jovial, goofy guy, like really fun, like trying to riz people up because he's a pirate, really only thinking about the money, like acting out the pirate. And
Hmm.
when it came down to it, like he's like this goofy, like talkative, charismatic guy. But when it came down to like fighting scenes, he would switch. He would switch a he would flip, and he would go from the goofy funny guy to being deadpan serious, thinking only about how to move forward, like very like direct. Like we had this encounter where there's these bandits and we defeated them and we tied them up and we're like, hey, we want to know where your base is, blah 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 blah. And the bandit leader, there's like the little minions, and the bandit leader's like, we'll never tell you, blah blah blah. I don't know what it was that compelled me to like play the character, play my guy the way I played him. His name was Sebastian Vesserai. I don't know what compelled me to play him the way I did, but deadpan, went up to the chief, just dead. No, like no
Yeah.
inhibition. I had never thought to play a character like that because that's not the kind of person I am in the first place. I like to play the lawful good. I like to play the neutral good character, the paladin, right? So I wasn't expecting to play this lawful evil character and have so much fun with it because he went up to the guy, intimidated all the other minions, and had them tell him, like them, the party, where everything was because you just went up to the leader that you captured and said, "Nope, dead." That was it. I wasn't expecting that. So really, like putting yourself out there, just trying something new. Um,
Right.
it really helps.
I think it's I think we'll talk more on Aetherius later. And
Aetherius
maybe
was,
next episode
for context,
was
Aetherius was my paladin character for Ethan's campaign.
yes, yeah. And I think there were just from what I've already started crafting Alcor Part 2. I'm really excited from what we're going to be doing with that. And something like the things I've learned are like I've now made 3 like key points, and those key points build off these points, and those build off points build off these points, and then finishing off like kind of the story aspect. I've now it's almost like it's like a Connect 4 puzzle while trying to fit different colored pegs and just filling up that square. Like you have like all of the blue and you have all of the red, and then like Aiden is purple and Leighton is green, and you're just trying to wedge them somehow so that they fit. Like, and obviously you can't get past certain things, but then they sit where they need to sit, and they're woven together really nice. And it's figuring out how to do that.
I'm going to be completely honest. Hearing you say I've already started working on Alcor Part 2 is like hearing that they're making an Incredibles 2 for the first time. I was like, hey, yo. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
no, I it's just it's a reason I wrote down this topic a couple weeks ago, is I've been slowly writing down the stuff I need.
I cannot wait. Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, no, I'm excited to kind of we'll talk more next episode. Huh?
I think we're hitting 2 hours.
Oh,
You're shitting me.
hi guys.
Bye everyone.
No,
But yeah,
no.
next episode, you guys will see the finishing up of just our Alcor campaign, a little bit more from just direct things from Homebrew, and then I'll let Aiden, Leighton, and David kind of take it away, because I've really had no other Homebrew experience except for Alcor and my other campaign.
We'll
and
finish
I'll
up
let them kind of
Alcor.
take away that episode. Right,
We'll finish
and
up
they'll
Alcor and then talk about our experience, like our other experiences and stuff. And
Yeah.
like I'll go into
please-
like how I got into stuff.
Please join that episode or listen to it, as well as you can find us anywhere you stream podcasts at the Forlight Podcast. And as always,
Spotify, Apple Music.
we are going to be on all socials at the Forlight Podcast. What's up? Are you trying to find something?
No. Yeah. If
You look like you're looking for something.
See, I know that your garage is a little okay. I know you got to clean it.
That's
Your
true.
mom's telling you
That's
to do
true.
it, or you're by yourself. You got to go in there, and it sucks to do. But if you're in there, and I know you're just you're searching around, you're sweeping everything up. Oh, what's this on the floor? Prime sub. Oh my goodness. So hey, I know. Moist Critical doesn't need another Prime sub. He doesn't need one. You can just hey, if you find one, it's just leave a
Aiden's
Prime sub.
Aiden is in the darkness. He's
It's-
in the depths of despair.
Hey, it's the 2nd of the month. If your Prime sub comes out of the woodwork like Aiden's face green right now, I don't know. Hey, just leave one.
Drop
Leave
us
one for us.
a prime sum.
Drop us a Prime sub.
That's another thing. We're
Amazon
working on. We are college students, but we're also like really new to this. So a lot of our extra stuff, like our thumbnails and our social media content and our like different kind of like our badges on Twitch, which is stuff we need. Like there's so many things that we are trying to work on that we want to make sure. Holy shit, he's got fire. We want to make sure that you guys are also aware that we're working on that and that it's coming soon. So if you guys are prime subbing, I'm going to tell you right now there is not any special emotes, but in the future we are looking to get more added things, maybe bonus content or something like that as we work on the podcast. So yeah, all right. Yeah. Is that it for everyone? We good? Yeah. Aiden's in the fucking in some scary like creepypasta right now. But that's the sad thing. All right.
You're an amazing
Thank you
man.
guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always,
Trith,
I've already said this, but
thanks,
What?
Trith. Thanks, Trith.
you little shitter. Anyways,
You did a
thank
tier
you guys
one
so much for
sub
watching.
phone.
We'll catch you next time. Bye bye. Aiden
guys.
say bye. Aiden say bye. You little
Bye,
shit.
guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hopefully David feels better. Bye.